Have you ever sat alone at night, maybe staring at the ceiling or looking at the stars, and asked yourself quietly, what really happens when we die? Do we just vanish like a candle that burns out and leaves only smoke behind? Or is there something waiting for us beyond that final breath? It's one of the oldest and deepest questions humans have ever asked. And today, let's take a journey into this mystery together, not in a scary way, but in a way that makes us think, makes us curious, and maybe even helps us live better while we're still here. Imagine this with me. An old man named Samuel is lying in a hospital bed. The room is quiet, except for the soft beep of machines and the smell of antiseptic in the air. His daughter is beside him, holding his hand tightly, whispering prayers through her tears. As Samuel takes his last few breaths, his eyes close, and in his mind, something begins to happen. He sees flashes of his life, the time he first learned to ride a bicycle, the moment he got married, the day his daughter was born. He sees himself as a boy again, running barefoot across green fields under a warm golden sunset. And then, everything feels calm, as if the whole universe has taken one deep breath and gone still. What is happening here? Where is Samuel going? Or is he going anywhere at all? Science gives us one way to understand this. When a person dies, the heart stops beating. Blood no longer carries oxygen to the brain. Within seconds, brain cells start shutting down. Consciousness fades, like a TV losing signal, first flickering, then turning completely black. But here's something fascinating. Scientists have discovered that in the moments right after the heart stops, the brain doesn't immediately shut off. Instead, it sometimes produces a sudden burst of energy. Some think it's the brain's last attempt to survive. Others wonder if it explains the visions and peaceful feelings people report in near-death experiences. In a way, it's as if the brain plays one final song before going silent, a short, mysterious farewell. But of course, science is not the only voice in this conversation. For thousands of years, philosophers have tried to explain death in different ways. The Stoics in ancient Rome believed that death is simply natural. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." To them, death was nothing more than a return to where we came from, like falling into a dreamless sleep. Existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre said death is what gives life meaning. Because we know our time is limited, we are pushed to love more deeply, to create, to make choices, and to live authentically. In other words, without death, life would lose its urgency. Buddhism teaches something very different. It says that death is not the end at all, but a transformation. Life and death are like waves in the ocean. A wave may fall, but the water remains, flowing into something new. So even in philosophy, death is not just an ending. It is a mirror that teaches us how to live. And then there are the world's religions, each painting its own picture of what happens next. In Christianity, death is seen as a doorway, not to nothingness, but to eternal life with God, a place where pain and sorrow are gone forever and every tear is wiped away. In Islam, the soul enters a state called barzakh, a waiting place before the day of judgment. On that day, every deed will be weighed, and paradise will be given to the righteous. In Hinduism, the soul is reborn again and again, like changing clothes, moving through different lives depending on karma. This cycle continues until the soul reaches moksha, freedom, and union with the divine. Buddhism also speaks of rebirth, but with a focus on breaking free from the cycle altogether by achieving enlightenment and seeing reality as it truly is. And in many indigenous traditions, death is not a goodbye. It is a return to the ancestors, to the earth, the wind, the sky. The dead do not vanish, they remain present, guiding and watching over the living. But what about those strange stories we hear from people who have come close to death? Near-death experiences are reported all over the world. Some people say they floated above their bodies, watching doctors try to revive them. Others speak of moving through a tunnel toward a bright light, feeling a peace so deep they didn't want to come back. One man once said, "I saw my body below me, but I felt free. Everything was filled with love and warmth. I didn't want to return." Scientists explain this as a mix of brain chemistry, lack of oxygen, and hallucinations. Spiritual people see it as glimpses of life after death. Maybe it's both. Maybe science describes the mechanics, and spirituality describes the meaning. So, what really happens when we die? The truth is, no one fully knows. And maybe that mystery is the very point. Maybe death is not meant to be solved like a puzzle, but to be lived with like a companion, reminding us every day that our time here is limited and therefore precious. Think about it. Death is what makes each sunrise feel like a gift. It's what makes every hug, every laugh, every tear valuable. Without death, would we even care so deeply about love, memory, and meaning? One day, every one of us will take that final step. But until then, we are alive. We can forgive faster, love deeper, take risks, create. Notice the beauty in the world, the colors of a sunset, the smile of a child, the sound of rain. Because in the end, it's not about how long we live. It's about how fully we live. And maybe, just maybe, when that moment comes, it will not feel like the end, but a return. As the poet Rumi said, "Goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes, for those who love with heart and soul. There is no such thing as separation." So, I'll leave you with this question. What do you think happens after death? Is it the end or a beginning? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay grateful, and remember, life itself is already the greatest miracle.